Yes, my name is Satriya and I work with the Ekoliterasi Jogja. It's some kind of institution who works for the knowledge of farming and its connection with nature, with environment. Uh, we now gathering up people from around Indonesia who have the similar ideas of um, how to see how important the seed, the local seed or heirloom seeds are, and then we try to gather up people who and ask them to create or to build some kind of network so that we can share our knowledge on seeds, on how it will be managed, and what's our challenge, what our threat, and also our hope on local seeds.
And the data? What
Okay,
you found?
and what we are already did just before this meeting, we try to make some kind of mini research which we try to which we hope we can explain about what happened in the rural area of Java, especially in Muntilan. It's about 50 kilometers from Jogja, and uh, and the, and the other part of the village and the other part of the location is it's located in Panggang in Wintaos. It's located about 30 kilometers from downtown Jogja. And this is the data we already gathered, and we compose them into some kind of infographic. On the left side, it's in Muntilan. The data came from Muntilan in Dusun Diwa in Magelang district. There we gather multi-temporal data, which the information still persists in the community over there. We ask old farmer and also elders from the village, so that they can tell us about the history of their farming methods, and then the variety that they plant, and also what happened from 1960 to nowadays. So all the data that we gather based on the information they give, we cultivate the data so that we can count the number um, of the local food source, local food plants. In the left it's from 1960, and in the right is the condition right now. So we separate them into three categories. It's the carbohydrate source, and then our staple food, and then the vegetables, and the last one is the protein source, or pulse or legumes. Yeah, legumes. So from the data we gather from the field, we can see that in the 1960 they still have about 43 carbohydrate source for their staple food, and then during next 57 yeah it's 57 years, they're already been degraded into about 9. It's only about 9. And from this number, they have only 2 local variety from their predecessors, and then there are about 7 new species, new variety of the food plant from the carbohydrate source group. And then from the vegetables group, they have 29. We separate them into 2 categories also. The brown one, it's the we call it wild fruit, wild plants, wild vegetables that they usually gather up around their house for their own need. And then the green one is the commodity, which they usually plant, and most of them will be sold in the market. So in 1960, there are already about 16 variety of vegetables who they usually consume and sell the rest of the harvest. And they have 13 wild food plants that they also consume. But then, in 2017, there are only 16 left from the old variety, and it's consists of about it's maybe about only eight cultivated vegetables, and the rest is the wild food plants. And then there are also new variety of food plants, and it's mostly hybrid varieties, mostly produced by company, and they came in sometimes in package with pesticides and also chemical fertilizer. And then the last one is the legumes. In 1960, they still have 10. We separate them into two categories. It's we call it koro. Koro, it's a much bigger bean, and then kacang, it's smaller one. We still have 10 in 1960, but then right now we have only 4, and it's all big. The big bean, we call it koro. And then deep down here, we try to make some kind of graphic to show that from the 1960, which with this volume of data, in 2017 they are all reduced by this scale. So there are so many things happen during 1960 to 2017, and mostly it's because of the introduction of new farming technology and also new seeds that came with force. They are all have to plant certain variety of rice, and there come the degradation of the diversity of the plants. And there are so many political and economic motive behind the reduction of the biodiversity food plants, the biodiversity of the food plants. So now I shift to the next data. It came from Dusun Wintaos. It's located in Panggang. The area, they live in the karst area, so it's mostly dry. So their climate is they have lower rain intensities, and that's why they have to create their own method of survival. So they plant so many variety of food plants in 1960. From the carbohydrate source categories, they have 36, which mostly dominated by cassava. It's mostly dominated by cassava, and then they plant cassava usually on the on some kind of hill, and also their lawn and their garden also. And then they also plant paddies, but not for the whole year, and it's only located on the specific area, the area that can support paddy, because there are not much water in this area. The other carbohydrate source came from I forgot the name. Uwi, then talas,
Taro.
yeah,
Taro.
taro. Oh yeah, and then taro. Yam. Uwi is yam in English. So there are 3 yams, and then taro, 2, corn, and then millets, sorghum, and there are also sweet potato. And the interesting one is they have wild potato variety. But then in 2017, they are all reduced into only 20 variety. Still with cassava dominated the whole structure, and they lost all of the 10 paddies. So they have one new variety of paddy right now, and it came from outside of the area. So the local paddy variety, they are already gone, all of them. And the other new variety is corn. It's the hybrid corn. They usually back there many years ago they usually ate the white corn, but then come the hybrid corn, which they plant for the use of feed, animal feed. So they don't consume the hybrid corn. So they plant it just for commodities. They sell it. And then the next data is from the vegetables sector, from the vegetables category. The number is quite huge. It's 40, and there in Dusun Wintaos, their plant is mixed. They are not planting in monoculture system. They plant it all in the same area, and they still consume so many kind of wild food plants. So they have about 26 cultivated vegetables and about 14 varieties of wild food plants. But then in 2017, it's only reduced. There are only 4 varieties gone. They are still have 36 varieties. And then from the legumes, there are no change at all from the 1960 to 2017. So the data here compared to Muntilan, it's quite interesting because mostly government don't have any attention on the quite difficult to manage area. So the area is less fertile. In Panggang, the area is less fertile, so the government is not the government is not quite much the pengaruh, the influence of the government is not quite much. So the change is not quite big. So there are also some involvement of government, but it's only restricted into the carbohydrate food source. They produce they have to plant paddies also, and then there are also there's a time when there are pest attack on the paddy, so the farmer there lost their harvest, but the harvest is from the government source, the seeds from government, and then from there they are not planting more paddies from government. They only plant some.